Yes, good morning. My name is Barry Sarkissian. I am an attorney at law, over 50 years, member of the Bar Association here in Hudson County, former Superior Court judge. And as part of the support committee and history committee, which performs oral histories of certain well-known members of the Hudson County Bar, we take this opportunity to interview various attorneys who have been practicing for some period of time and or members of the judiciary. And I have the pleasure today of interviewing Mr. Eugene O'Connell. Good morning, Mr. O'Connell.
Good morning, Barry. How are you?
All right, good. Again, I do know you on a personal level, and we're going to talk a little bit about some non-personal things about your career. You've been practicing the same number of years as I have, since 1973, so that's over 50 years.
52 years.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey.
Is that right? Has it been bumpy at times?
Not really. It's sometimes stressful because of the workload, but I've enjoyed all 52 years. They've been really a pleasure.
Well, again, since if I do the math for myself, I know that you've got to be in your late 70s or so.
I am. I'm 77.
Yeah, it's the same as me. And still able to withstand that stress in the
I am.
level of work you're doing?
I have a full-time law practice, mostly real estate, and I'm also, since 1990, I've been building affordable housing in the state of New Jersey. I'm about 1,500 units up over the last 40 years.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that more later, but let us hear a little bit about your childhood. I understand you were a member of a rather large family here in Jersey City. Tell us about that.
That's correct. So my mom and dad, Joseph and Claire O'Connell, they had 12 children. I was the sixth oldest, so I was right in the middle of that family. Had great brothers and sisters, 7 sisters, 4 brothers. My older brothers were almost like a father to me. They would help me out in my early age and things that I wanted to do where my father might not have been able to do it because of his workload and caring for 12 kids. And then my younger sisters, again, were very helpful in molding me and helped me out in my career.
So the whole concept, was there a time when all 12 were actually in the same household?
There actually was. It's still, I don't think we had rubber walls, but I don't understand how we all fit in that house. But there was a time when all 12 of us were living in the same house on Troy Street in Jersey City. And it was a 2-family converted to a 1-family by my parents.
So I think you sometimes referred to it in one of the descriptions of your background that I've read, that there was a classic Irish family upbringing, including the school you received from a very early age until you graduated from law school. Tell us about that.
Well, of course, religion was a very important factor in my parents' life. So we all attended Catholic schools. I attended St. Nicholas Grammar School in Jersey City. My first 2 years of high school were in St. Michael's, Union City. I transferred to Queen of Peace for a very selfish reason. I couldn't make the basketball team in St. Michael's, so I transferred to Queen of Peace so I could play basketball at high school.
So people can't see you, but even at this old, ripe age, he's a tall chap.
That's true. I started my best feature. I'm tall.
And by the way, so you can't see this, he's wearing sneakers right now.
You never know when you have the next game, so you have to be ready. But so then from there I went to St. Peter's University for 4 years. And on the urging of my uncle Gene Donahue, applied for law school at Seton Law School. And went to Seton Law School.
So across the board, you've had an association with the Jesuit form of education.
Yes, and we abide by the Jesuit motto, for others. I really think our life should be spent helping other people. And being a lawyer gives you a good opportunity to do that.
It's a very good point, especially in the times we're facing now. Very good point. And you try to express that perspective in part of this career that you have that's significant in developing affordable housing. Tell us about it.
Well, back in around 1990, my partner, Roy Benjamin, had just gotten out of the advertising business, and he had contacted me because he knew I had a background in municipal law and real estate law, and said we should partner up and try to see if we could build some affordable housing. Of course, we do believe that is really the American dream. Everybody should be able to live the American dream and to be able to own their own home. So we started in 1990, and over the course of the last 30-some years, we've developed about 1,500 units of affordable housing, and all types of affordable housing for purchase and for rental. To give you an example, we're doing 12 units now. In this day and age, the one bedrooms are $170,000 purchase price, and the two bedrooms $220,000 in Jersey City. So you can imagine, it's amazing that with the way that real estate has developed, that we can still sell homes at that price.
Well, it speaks for itself that price point you just mentioned here in the year 2025 is well below the market. If someone could look for a condominium in Jersey City, which would be 10 or 20 times that amount of money.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
that's a great perspective about following the St. Peter's motto.
Yeah, that's true.
We thank you for that. So these units, 1,200 units, were they developed primarily in Hudson County?
Not really. A lot were built in Jersey City, and a large number were built in Newark. But we also have homes as far south as Trenton, in New Brunswick, and also in Patterson and Neptune, New Jersey. So we're, mostly in the Hudson County, Essex County area, but also in other parts of New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that as currently as this year, given the constraints that people now who are at the financial crunch level, if you will, are having a problem finding affordable housing. Is it more difficult now than it was, say, 15 or 20 years ago when you started?
It actually is, and the reason, there's multiple reasons for that. The first reason is that acquisition costs for either a lot or an existing building have gotten very, very expensive. Where we could buy a lot years ago for maybe $100,000, that lot may go now for $800,000. So that's the first issue that you have to deal with to try to build affordable housing. The second issue is construction costs. So construction costs 10 years ago were about $125 a square foot. But the building we're building now is costing us $262 a square foot. So they not only have doubled, but almost tripled to build a house. And then now it's the statutes and regulations for either renting or selling an affordable unit have gotten very difficult in that they're very hard for a purchaser or a renter to fulfill all the requirements. You really have to have a good handle on your family size, your credit, your savings, and they're looked over like with a fine-tooth comb. So with all those factors together, it makes either renting or selling an affordable unit much more difficult than it was 20 years ago.
So I just want to get core down on the word difficult. Is it difficult to get them built, or is it difficult to find buyers or renters?
It's a combination. It's difficult to find a property at an acquisition cost at a fair price. It's difficult to build it at a cost that can still make it affordable. And the third part, it takes months and months to get people marketed and certified to either buy or rent the unit. So it's common.
I see. Well, there's no question there's a need, given the current housing crisis, which the people who are running for office always say it exists. The question is, what are you going to do about it? And of course, this goes along, I don't know if you agree on it, at all levels, the local, the state, and the federal level.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. It's, there are subsidies out there, but they're certainly not enough for the demand and the need.
Mhm. So, let's talk about your time of the day. Now, is it devoted just to affordable housing, or do you do some things in the legal spectrum as
No,
an attorney?
I have a full-time office. I have 3 individuals that work for me. We do mostly real estate, and it's commercial, residential, zoning, land use. So,
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
apology accepted. Yeah, so I have a full-time law office, and I do a lot of transactional law. So it could be a commercial building, it could be residential buildings, it could be pilot agreements, land use, and a lot of legal work goes into affordable housing. Getting all the affordability controls and working with the municipality or the state or the federal government on getting the subsidies and filling out all the agreements required for that. For those.
Well, earlier on in your career, when you talk about being aware of those functions, which go to affordable housing, which go to pilot agreements, which are agreements between an owner of property or developer of property and a municipality, you do have in your background earlier on some background in public employment as an attorney. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I started out as a law clerk for the Hudson County District Court, and that was in 1973.
Who was the judge, by the way?
Judge McLaughlin. And he was a member of the Bar Association, and he did a lot of work with our Bar Association. I think Judge McLaughlin worked on the scholarship committee and headed the scholarship committee for a number of years. He was a great guy, and I liked working for him. And then from there, I went to the Hudson County Prosecutor's Office and worked as a trial attorney for a couple of years, and then headed the grand jury section for 2 or 3 years in the prosecutor's office. From there, I went to the city of Jersey City as an assistant corporation counsel, and I got involved with doing a lot of the redevelopment work that the city started on the waterfront. And a little antidote on that, one day, Tommy Smith, who was the mayor in around 1979, he asked me to go to Trenton to go to Department of Environmental Protection to pick up a check. So I took the train to Trenton, picked up the check and brought it back to Tommy Smith, and he opened the check. It was for $6 million. And I said, well, what is the check for? He said, we just sold the train terminal to Liberty State, to the state of New Jersey to start Liberty State Park. So I asked for a copy of the check, and I have a copy of that check today. So that was kind of like a great moment. I thought Liberty State Park, to me, is one of the great parks in the United States.
Oh, absolutely.
And I had a little hand in starting it with Mayor Smith. So that from there, I went to the city of Hoboken as corporation counsel, and we did a lot of development in Hoboken. 2 major issues with developing the waterfront.
Yeah, what year was that?
That was around 1988-89,
Okay.
and that was just when the waterfront in Hoboken started. It was a struggle. The population was half for it, half against it. So there was a lot of municipal meetings, and there was a lot of back and forth, but it finally did get off the ground, and today, I think it makes Hoboken what Hoboken is. And then from there...
Including very crowded.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the development in Hoboken, New Jersey, and in Journal Square alone, there are 7,000 new units in the last 5 years. That to me is amazing.
Yeah.
But you're right. And then when I was in Hoboken around 1989, 90 is when I started my other business, JP Affordable Housing. And that's when I first started doing affordable housing.
So, do you think your wet your whistle, so to speak, on this whole development game and actually profession by the exposure you had to it when you were in the public employment in Hoboken in Jersey City?
Of course, it's exactly what happened. You know, I piggybacked on that to start my business.
Yeah. So, you know, now the question becomes, I don't know if you agree with me or not, that the problem becomes, well, where are the open lots? I don't think there are many left in Hoboken. I'm not sure about Jersey City, but.
Well, yeah, that is the issue. Like, as I said, years ago we would pay $50,000 or $100,000 for a lot. The project I'm doing now, we paid $900,000 for the lot, so 10 times. So you can do it, but you really have to get the subsidy in order to make the unit or the building affordable. So that's the key, getting enough money to reduce the purchase price or the rental for the unit.
I want to bring you back for 1 second to an item that I saw in your background. Of course, I remember this because you attended St. Peter's University. Now, when we went there as St. Peter's College, and we went there at the same time, and you mentioned the fact that now that I remember it after I saw it in your background, that you were a member of the St. Peter's College team that was a part of the team that went to the 1968 National Invitational Tournament taking place in Madison Square Garden.
Yes, that was a highlight for sure.
Okay.
So back in 1968, there were still 2 tournaments in the United States, basketball tournaments for college. There were the NCAA's Final Four as we know it today, but there was also called the NIT. But back there, only 16 teams went to the NCAAs and 16 teams went to the NIT. So when we got selected to go to the NIT, we had a pretty good team. We were 24-2. We had only 2 losses during the season. And we got to play, our first 2 games were against Marshall and Duke. So Duke at the time was number 5 in the nation. And we had beaten Marshall in double overtime. And one of my co-players, Eleanor Webster, who was passed away, scored 51 points long before they had the 3-point shot. And it was a pretty amazing performance.
Sure.
But so our second game was against Duke, and nobody thought we had a prayer against Duke. And we ended up blowing them out by 30 points and became the toast of Jersey City. And you can imagine, because there were maybe 3 channels on TV at the time. So we got a lot of notoriety about that. And I think my first 2 or 3 jobs after St. Peter's, the person who interviewed me only wanted to know about the NIT. So it got me a couple of jobs. So that was pretty wonderful too.
Well, I think I was at the game where I think you didn't go forward. You lost to that team. Do you remember that game?
Kansas.
Was it Kansas?
Yeah, Kansas had JoJo White and 2 7-footers, and we just, even though we had averaged 96 points a game that year, I think we scored about 48. So it was a rude awakening for sure. But yeah.
So a lot of these teams that you were facing had players that turned out to join the NBA.
Oh sure, yeah, a lot of the players. Yeah, yeah. It was an amazing, fun time for sure.
So I know a little bit about the things, the passions outside the law office that you have, and you know, one of them is still basketball, because I think you still make it a point of attending your colleges or universities' basketball games.
I do. I try to help the program as much as I can. Like this past year, people may not know a lot about what the Name, Image, Likeness Collective is, but with the advent of the NCAA, and players can now receive funds for playing in college. But in order to give them the funds, you have to set up what's called a Name, Image, Likeness Collective. So my wife and I, Melita wrote us, I did the legal work, and Melita did all the website. We set up the mill collector for St. Peter's, so they can collect money to pay the players to get them spending money for playing basketball in college.
I see. Wow. When did you start that?
We did that this year. We started in January. It took a couple of months to do it. Took about 3 months to get the 501c3, and then we about 4 or 5 months to do the website.
This is almost on the heels, not precise heels, but almost on the heels of their great run in the ACAA, and that was what, 2 years ago?
That was 2022. Yeah,
2022.
They went to the Elite Eight, and they had beaten Kentucky and Murray State and Purdue, and lost to North Carolina in the Elite Eight. That was a good team, and it was a lot of fun at St. Peter's at that time too.
You went to every one of those games, didn't you?
I did not.
Oh, you did?
I went to 2 of them, but I didn't go to the Murray State game.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, I know it's on a personal level, but I want you to talk about a little bit about some of your other passions outside the office. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head, we're talking about music, we're talking about arts, we're talking about culture.
Well,
how do you find yourself, and tell us why you think you're interested and how it displays itself?
Yeah, well, I think Nietzsche wrote that you can't survive reality unless you have art. And I think art gives us a break from the stresses and the craziness of what happens in our real world. So from a young age, I've always been interested in music and art, starting with my father. My father would make us listen to opera every Saturday on the radio. He would play, classical music. And then as I got older, I got interested in all sorts of, starting with rock and then jazz. And back in the day when you used to try cases against the public defenders in the prosecutor's office, there was a real camaraderie among the lawyers.
Lawyers represent the prosecutor's office and the lawyers representing the defendants.
And you would fight like hell in court for your position, but after court you could meet at the local watering hole and have a conversation. So one of the public defenders said, "Gene, I have extra opera tickets." So he said, you may want to go to the opera. So I listened to the opera with my dad.
First time?
I was little. It was the first time. I was about 23 or 24, just starting in the prosecutor's office. And he gave me 2 tickets to go to the opera. So those 2 tickets ended up me going to hundreds of operas over the years. And if you want to, I think the best money you can spend is to either go to a great opera or a great rock concert or a great classical concert. I went to a concert the other day, Raphael Sadiq. Nobody's going to know who Raphael Sadiq is, but he's an amazing performer, amazing artist, amazing writer. And he told this great story about when he was still in high school, there was a call to go play, or to try out for a gig with Prince. And he takes a train from Oakland, California to San Francisco with his guitar, bass guitar. And he just lines up with all these other bass guitar players. And eventually Sheila E., who was a famous drummer for Prince, calls him in and she goes, "How come your guitar's not out of the case?" He goes, "I didn't want anything to happen to it." Well, anyway, he's a high school, he gets a gig and goes to Tokyo and plays for Prince. It's like an amazing story, right? So it's stuff like that. You go to a concert, you find out stuff like that. That's pretty cool.
It sort of adds to your vibe about how you're reacting to the performer and what you feel.
Yeah. And then, one of the highlights, I was working in the law department at City Hall, and Tom Fados, who's a very bright young guy, said, "Gene, I have a sailboat, a little 21-foot Seafarer." He goes, "But I want to sell it." So I said to Tom, "Look, I'll pay you $50 a month for as many months as it took." And I bought the boat, and that started me on almost 35 years of buying boat after boat. And I love sailing. It's an incredible way to spend your time. And I ended up having this beautiful 41-foot boat, which I took up to Montauk and down to Atlantic City. I never got to go to the Caribbean, but that's a bucket list maybe one day.
Do you still sail?
I do on occasion. I sold a boat a couple of years ago, but I still have friends that have boats, so I still sail.
So on these sojourns, you don't call it when sailing, it's a journey, what do you call it? Is there a special word? Trip. Okay, from here to the, where you would go in the island, not the islands, but you go to Nantucket or go wherever you would go locally. When, you know, who would be in the crew other than yourself?
It could be another lawyer. It would usually a friend, and
So a two-man
like
crew?
sometimes we have two, sometimes we have four. It was a pretty big boat. You know, you could sleep four of us comfortably. And I like to go to Montauk as a 2-day sail. So
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it takes about 2 days. You stop off at Southampton and then continue off to Montauk. It's a lot of fun. You know, you turn the motor off. It's very quiet, and it's very relaxing.
So I feel when you describe, as you are, these passions of art, quoting Nietzsche as you did, and music along different spectrums, and sailing, I feel that in addition to the St. Peter's coda of do for others, there's an element to the other phrase I heard very frequently when I was at St. Peter's College. Of course, I didn't go to Catholic grammar school as you did, or high school. I went to Memorial High School in West New York, and I walked into the Deneen cafeteria for the first time, and they're saying, well, who are you? You know, and then I started being questioned by St. Peter's prep guys and everything about who I was and where I came from. And the phrase that stuck in my mind about how they approached life is a phrase that seems to apply to you and your perspective about how you enjoy life. And that phrase was carpe diem. So for those who are not familiar with that phrase, tell us what that means and what it means to you.
Well, I think you have to live life to the fullest, you know, and there's no reason not to do it, no matter, you know, what your age. I'm still looking forward to whatever I do tonight or next week, so I think that's the key. Just
seizing this day.
Yeah.
Seizing this day. Well, the you know, that perspective and those two codas you have, the do for others and seize the day and enjoy life, but at the same time have a perspective on others, on how what you do professionally affects others, I think is a testimony to you, Gene, about your career, and I want to congratulate you on that career, yet to continue, and thank you for coming and speaking to us today on oral history of the Hudson County Bar Association. Thank you.
Barry, it's a pleasure. Thank you.